Doug Mader, we've made it through another year with this amazing show. It's amazing. We met each other at a veterinary conference and we just clicked and we both thought, this is so great. You take care of all these animals. You wrote an incredible book, The Vet at Noah's Ark, about the clinic you had and the wacky, interesting people and the wacky, interesting, non-traditional pets that they had. Sometimes just boring old dogs and cats, but mostly really interesting ones. And we've been finding an audience and finding people who I think are saying, thank you for noticing us and our wonderful sponsor, ZoomEd, without whom there couldn't be a show. They immediately, it's funny, ZoomEd said to me, okay, we'd be interested in sponsoring it, but it's really about Doug Mader. And I have to say, it's really about Doug Mader. You're not on every episode with me, but you're an inspiration to so many pet owners and other veterinarians and vet techs. You really have such a standard of care and caring and empathy and knowledge, and you're willing to get into smelly water with a crocodile. To me, that's pretty impressive.
Once again, Tracy, so it's good to join you, and I appreciate the opportunity you've given me these past couple of years to share stories and knowledge with your listeners. And I have enjoyed the feedback we've gotten, and we do appreciate it when people take the time to make comments on our social media posts. And we've taken some of those comments and turned them into podcasts. It's also been fun to share a lot of my colleagues with you, because I know over the last
Oh
couple of
my
years,
God.
we've had several of my very good colleagues that have become excellent friends, and everybody's got their unique aspects that make them who they are.
That's
And we
right.
get them on the podcast, and that comes out, and you bring it out in people. And it's been great. It's just been a lot of fun, and I look forward to continuing on down the road.
So do I. And I think that our listeners get a kick out of some of these doctors. The passion is it's so palpable. It's so obvious. They really care about the animals and the people. And there's just a kind of joy in being there for the parrots and the iguanas and the little turtles and the bigger tortoises. It's been a real education for me. I learned
Yeah.
something new every single time. And I really admire people who say, yeah, I'm happy to have you have those terrariums behind you for those of people looking on YouTube. Don't you have some frog who basically lives under a rock or in some sand and every so often, like once a month, comes up for lunch?
Yeah. I mean, he eats every couple of weeks. Yeah. His name is Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin.
So, yeah.
So it's like people say, yeah, that's my idea of a great pet. And I salute you all, not to mention the fish lovers, right?
No, yeah.
Fishes.
Think about there's so many different types of pets that we deal with on a those of us that work with the exotics. You talk about snakes, we think about, oh, everybody's got their bearded dragon, right?
Right.
Well, people have pet fish, people have things like ant farms. This past week, I had the honor of being asked to participate in a documentary being made about the human animal bond. I can't give you any
Nice.
more details right now, but it's going to be a full length 90-minute documentary.
Wow.
And they had me on because they wanted a veterinarian that was certified in human animal bond, which I am. And they also wanted a veterinarian that had experience with the human animal bond outside of just dogs and cats. Not that there's
Right.
anything wrong with them, because I
Right.
have plenty of those too.
Yes.
But yeah, we were talking about, I mean, again, everybody thinks, oh, the bunny, the canary, the bearded dragon. But again, I've got a pet frog. The first pet frog I owned for 18 years, and he died of
Wow.
cancer. I was devastated.
Yes.
Um, People have pet fish, people have ant farms, and maybe you don't individually name each ant, but you take care of that ant as a single unit. And people come home and they're fascinated how the different tunnels that were
Yes.
made overnight
Yes.
or since they were in school in the morning, and they talk to their ants and they feed their ants, and if they find a dead ant, they stress over it. So that human animal bond is real, and it's not just dogs and cats, not something you sit with on your lap watching TV. It could be a young girl with her pet horse, it could be a boy with his hunting dog, it could be the policeman with his bomb dog. The human animal bond is just amazing. It's ever present.
Jumping spiders was a real eye opener for me because ZoomEd came out with their jumping spider kit. So it's a housing unit for a jumping spider. And I thought, okay, but how do you find a jumping spider? Do you look in the corners of your house? It turns out it's a really big deal. You have to buy them from online and you have to make sure, I guess, they come from an ethical, proper source. But then they require all kinds of just all these other animals, very specific environment and nutrition and light and humidity and oh my God, which gets us. And so I have the jumping spider kitten. I'm thinking, I don't think, and they're really cute, I have to say. They have a face on them that you could just almost kiss if that would be absurd, but they're really adorbs if you see them up close and with a magnifying glass. I thought, well, I'm not going to go online and go seeking out the jumping spider of my dreams, but I need to find someone. I'm going to give this to someone, I thought. And maybe I'll even give them, maybe it's someone's kid, the money. I have a friend who loves all kinds of quirky things. I'll even give it to her, not just her son. I'll give them the money to get the jumping spider. And she was like, no, I actually looked it up and it's more trouble, more work, more dedication that I want to do. So, what about giving people exotic pets or the paraphernalia so they can then go find the exotic pet to put in it? It's something people have to decide for themselves, I think, don't you?
Yeah, I know. Oftentimes we tend to do what we think somebody else wants, in a contrived world.
Yes.
I'm gonna stretch this out a little bit. We build a terrarium for our pet frog, and I put in the plastic statue of Buddha, and then I put in the little fake Christmas tree because
Yes.
I think the frog would enjoy that. It's the same thing when you're buying a pet for somebody. I think your son needs a pet hamster. Wait a minute. Maybe they don't want an animal. Maybe they're allergic. Maybe mom and dad are not ready for their child to have that responsibility yet.
Yes.
Maybe, and we don't think about these things, they don't have the space for it, they don't have the
That's
money to
right.
feed it.
That's
And okay, so you give them the hamster and you give them a tank to put it in and you give them some food to last for a month. But what if that hamster gets sick? Maybe that family can't afford the
right.
potential of going to the veterinary office. There's so many complicated factors. But
Yes.
we're running before we're walking here. So let's go back to the very, very beginning. And we have to decide, should you be giving something alive to somebody? Make sure that they want it. I'm sure as you were growing up, maybe even yourself as a kid, you wanted a pet elephant, right? Or something along that line. Just because I want a pet elephant doesn't mean that some rich uncle is going to go out and buy me a pet elephant. Not the right thing to do. What I always tell, I get this question a lot from parents, okay? And actually school teachers as well, because how do I know when one of my children, or in the case of a school teacher, that a child is ready to
Right.
have a pet? A lot of school programs have programs where they have a classroom pet, classroom mouse, classroom
Right.
bearded dragon, something
Yep.
like that. And then after signing all the appropriate paperwork and discussion with the parents, the kid then is allowed to foster the pet over the weekend and take it
Right.
home and take care of it for a couple of days and see if that's something that actually you do. Or by the end of the first night on Friday night, they're bored of the hamster or they're bored of the
Right.
snake and they want to go off and get on their phones and play on their phones all day long.
Right.
That's good. That's good training. But I take that back one step even further. And especially with parents that want to talk about having kids have a pet and the 6-year-old, oh, I want to have a dog. I want to have this. I want to have
Right.
that. I tell them to buy them a plant, buy them a little house plant. Okay.
Wow.
Make sure if they can keep that plant alive and take care of that plant and give it water, give it sunshine, and make sure that plant stays healthy for 2 months, that's the first step in showing responsible ownership. And if I don't want to plant, hey, I talk to my plants and my wife, she's amazing. She talks to all of her plants. Her plants do better
Right.
than my plants do. But we can talk to a plant just like you can. The human plant
Right.
bond. I have a favorite tree in the yard that I take care of. It's like I talk to that tree all the time. So the point is, give them something that they can demonstrate and prove that they had understood the concept of responsibility. If they
Right.
can maintain something like a small house plant, maybe they're ready for a goldfish or something
Right.
that requires a little more attention, a little more, an extra level of care. But don't jump them right off with that pet elephant or even the Rottweiler, okay? Because there's a big difference between taking care of a goldfish and taking care of a large, especially puppy, that requires attention
Right.
24/7.
Yep.
So I take care of 2 rescue facilities. And it is sad how many animals that we get in on a weekly basis from people that just get tired of the animals. And I applaud the ones that have the fortitude to actually take the animal in and turn it in. Say, I can't handle this bearded
Well,
dragon
that's just
anymore. I
opening the
don't
door.
want,
Yeah.
okay. So at least they're being responsible. The ones that are bad are the ones that just turn them loose, like the pythons in the Everglades.
Yes.
Or I had a really interesting call this weekend from local animal control. They got a call from an apartment manager. The people had moved out in the middle of the night, not paid their rent. So the apartment manager went in there. The place was in shambles and there was a snake. And it was a red, white, and black snake. And they immediately thought it was a coral snake because remember, I live in the tropics.
Right.
So they didn't want to touch it. They were afraid. They called me, said, can you identify the snake for me? It turned out it wasn't. It was a milk snake. So it wasn't dangerous. But again, that's irresponsible pet ownership. Because we know we've talked about this, snakes are low maintenance pets, right? Very
Correct.
inexpensive, very little bit of money spent, very little bit of time
That's
invested
right.
in them, and you can still have a pet snake. So if they can't maintain something like that, they're never going to handle a dog. Okay. I don't know why my mind, when you get older, your mind flits around. I got a call from the same animal control like the day later, and this guy, they got a bunch of phone calls because this guy decided he wanted to buy a spider monkey. And you know how I feel about private
No,
owners and monkeys.
no primates.
No gifting primates, Tracy. I don't want a monkey for a holiday, okay?
Right.
So
Okay.
you see the point I'm trying to make is,
Yeah.
it's nice to want to be able to give something to people, but if you think you want to go ahead and gift a pet to somebody or a child, make sure you communicate with them. Don't surprise them with it
No surprise.
because
Yeah.
it could turn out to be a real disaster, okay? There's nothing wrong with you collaborating with a young child's adult parents and say, hey, I noticed that little Tommy or little Sarah really loves playing with my guinea pig when she comes
Yeah.
over. How do you feel if I were to get her a guinea pig for Christmas? And if they're like, that's so sweet, that would be very kind. So if you're cool with that, I'm cool with that. And I'll tell you what, if it doesn't work out, I'll take the guinea pig back and find it another home. Communication, okay?
Right.
Talk
Right.
it out in advance, have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C. If you do that, you're not going to have a problem. It won't become a nightmare. It won't become a mistake. Okay.
Right. And
So I
with
think that's the way to go.
yeah, and with exotics, some of them are very high maintenance and last forever and a day. Parrots, tortoises, we're talking
Yeah.
incredibly long periods of time. So people need to actually make provision in their will. They
Oh,
actually need to have
absolutely.
an executor letter that says, and when I go, Fifi, my tortoise, who's got another 100 years on her age meter, needs to go to someone you work it out with ahead of time.
Yeah. Just to bring things back full circle, when I saw that milk snake, they're absolutely gorgeous. My first thought was, if nobody wants it, I'm going to take it. And then I
Right. I was
realized, you know
wondering.
what? I don't need another pet that I have to find a
Right.
put in my will to give to somebody
That's
else.
right. That's
So
right.
yeah, it's a lot of these exotic pets. Some of them, unfortunately, are very short-lived, like a mouse, a couple, three
Correct.
years if you're lucky. I've got a bird that's going to outlive me by a half a century. And tortoises, they live for a long time. So yeah, you really have to think of all the different variables before you, as innocent and as benevolent as it may seem, gifting animal is not a good idea. And I think we're
Stop.
going into the holiday season now, and we certainly see a lot of that. But we'll have to revisit this again come Easter time, because one of the
Funny.
facilities that I work with, every year, about a week or two after Easter, we start getting the calls for bunnies and chicks that they don't want. Everybody, oh, I got a chicken. Oh, it's pooping everywhere in the house. I got a bunny. Oh, he's eating all my electrical cords, or he's peeing in
Yeah.
the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So gifting live animals, not the best idea. Gifting a small house plant, yeah, that's a good way to
I
start.
love that. I think the house plant is a great idea, and you'll know if you have a green thumb or not, and then it will translate to being a good thumb for, I don't know, a ferret, maybe if that's the animal of your dreams. But so the same thing goes for any of you. If this show has gotten you intrigued about various animals, that's what we're here for, but we also want you to remember all of it requires money, time, and even a certain level of passion in that stewardship. So maybe just listen to the show for a while, get the house plant and see how things go. Doug, it's been a wonderful year and looking forward to many more ahead. All the critters that people have in their lives and want to have in their lives, we're going to help them do a good job of it. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
Tracy.
you.
Thanks to all the listeners, and have
And
a
to Zoom
wonderful
Ed
holiday.
and to
Yeah.
wonderful Zoom Ed
Thanks,
without
ZoomEd.
really, it's a great company with fantastic products, but also a big heart for the people who want these animals because they want you to have this show and they want you to share our wisdom and our passion. Thank you all.